Okay, our next question posed by a theist is a little strange, but here it is. Suppose, hypothetically, that you met with someone who knew nothing about you except your first name, and this person was able to accurately name deceased family members, discuss in detail how they died, and describe intimate personal details about your relationship with these people, including people you aren't consciously thinking about. How would you explain this? Dallas.
Okay, well, first of all, this is extremely hypothetical because I have never met anyone who could do this other than fraudsters who are mentalists. They proclaim themselves to be mediums or they proclaim themselves to be psychic. But in reality, what they do is a lot of reading of your reactions, and they can read into the way you react to things that they say to sort of lead them on the path of success.
Cold reading.
Cold reading, exactly. But this is a practice that has been exposed by people who are very successful at it. Mm-hmm. What they call themselves mentalists, not psychics, because they don't believe it's
Right. And then beyond cold reading, there's more of a chance that these people are liars, deceptive people who have somehow acquired information about your deceased relatives and are trying to convince you of some type of ideology or trying to separate you from your money.
Yes.
So there's a much greater chance of that. So,
I guess what we should ask back, in a sense, is he asking this from the perspective of being moved by the Holy Spirit to have forth-telling capabilities as a because there's foretelling and forth-telling, right? When it comes to prophecy. Mm-hmm. So is he asking this from this perspective of forth-telling as a spiritual gift, or is he asking it just generally and hypothetically? Because personally, I've never experienced it, so. Because I haven't personally experienced it, and because I don't know anyone who has actually personally experienced this either, without some degree of questionability.
Right. But it is a claim of the Bible that people, Christians, presumably should be able to, at least some of them should be able to forthtell and talk about even the future. So
yes,
the situation of Ananias and Sapphira who lied. Correct. And Peter knew they had lied. Yeah.
So and another, think of it, because this is also, this may be in reference to Jesus, because Jesus does, with the Mary Magdalene, understanding her past and talking about, what she had done in the past, and the woman at the well and things like this. So, this may be from the perspective of, well, Christ had this capability. He had the ability to look into people's lives, only knowing their first name or not even knowing their first name, and still being able to accurately depict events of their past without having a relationship to them. But again, this is, if you take that argument, you could say, well, anyone is capable of writing a story about someone who had these capabilities, but it doesn't mean that person existed and had those capabilities.
Right. So why is it that you don't see this power today? You can talk to Peter Popoff about that. And I think, did you hear the story about Peter Popoff and James Randi?
No, I didn't.
Peter Popoff is a person who does this type of cold reading. He'll identify somebody at random, presumably, sitting in his congregation, and then call them forward and tell them things about themselves, such as their address, all this type of thing, that he certainly should not be able to know. Mm-hmm. However, James Randi, a debunker of sorts, a skeptical debunker, attended his meeting one time, and he brought along with him a technologist or engineer on radio frequencies. And they identified a radio frequency that went from Peter Popoff's wife, who was reading cards filled out by the attendees, and she was reading off information through a radio signal on a certain frequency that went into Peter's ear.
Interesting.
So you'll find this on YouTube.
Okay.
So yes.
So he popped off one too many times, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So there are frauds. It's more likely that this would be something fraudulent, and we don't have to try to explain every possible way frauds can manipulate information.
Yeah.
Try to.
Magicians are very effective at sleight of hand and getting you to believe things that are supernatural, you know. But there's always method behind it. So
that's right. We don't have to explain every method by which these people have acquired the knowledge. In this Peter Popoff's case, it was through digital means. But even if we do not understand that, even if that had not been exposed by James Randi, we still don't have reason to believe it's more likely to be the voice of God rather than some other means.
And I have heard stories that, you know, in these type of congregations where people are trying to foretell in these contexts, that they have pre-selected, you know, congregational members or something, that they already know, you know, the people or they've been staged to respond in a certain way.
Right.
So, I mean, and they're doing it for whatever, you know, prestige, essentially money, you know, monetary goals.
That's right.
So, I mean, the question, again, because it's hypothetical, it has nothing to do with science.
Well, let me introduce a more convincing scenario.
Okay.
Someone predicts something about my future rather than talks about my past.
Yeah.
And that came true. That would be very interesting. In fact, recently there was a Christian who said I would increasingly become more homosexual.
All right.
So now I have that to look forward to if the Christian is correct.
Have you found yourself wanting to putt from the rough?
Nope. I still feel very heterosexual. And nothing so far.
Not that anything's wrong with that, you know. It's just
so I still feel very, very straight.
And knowing you, he doesn't let me lick him, so
no.
Okay, so you know, as a Christian, and I can talk from personal experience. There were times when I attempted to foretell. There were times when I attempted to foretell. Based upon movement of the Holy Spirit. I believed honestly that God was giving me insight into people's lives, and it just you look at them, you kind of gauge where they are in life, and it's a lot of people who come into a church setting. They're obviously there because they have some type of struggle that they're coping with, whether it's drugs, relationships, or whatever. And a lot of times you can sort of just prod a little bit and get enough information to generalize to a degree that you will hit somewhere. And you're not. But the thing is, you're not like consciously doing it. You're subconsciously doing it. I mean, you're because I don't think you're going to say outlandish things. Things that are just so far off base. For example, like. You're going to become more of a homosexual. Right. That's way off base and just has no foundation whatsoever in reality. But I think the more effective prophets are going to be the ones that sort of can read a situation well and sort of prognosticate, based on their experiences and looking at this person in their current state and where have other people who have been in that current state, where are they going, what kind of experiences do they kind of look forward to. Right. And actually I think sometimes it could be self-fulfilling in a lot of ways. Right. Because if you tell someone that you're, for example, you're struggling with your boss and you're potentially going to be fired, just something to that effect. You're embedding in their mind already sort of this predisposition.
Exactly. So my sister had one of her friends call her up a bit despondent, and my sister claims that through the Spirit of God she was able to know her friend was pregnant. Well, What do you think about that?
It could be hit or miss.
That's right. Women know each other very well, and intuitively, women know a lot about each other.
Well, here's an interesting. Before I was a Christian, I had an uncanny ability of being able to tell if a girl had been raped or not.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, by meeting them and talking with them. I mean, I could actually, I don't know what it is, just sense in their behavior or something. I could hit with fairly high degree of accuracy if they had been in a sexual abuse type of environment in their past. But that wasn't through the Spirit of God. It was just through kind of intuition.
It's anybody who's a bit skilled in psychology, and all you need to be skilled in psychology is to be around people for